Evening all.
Sir,
Evening sir. Evening ma'am. So we have completed logical reasoning. So we can further move into previous year questions and review those questions. First question. Consider the statements with reference to categorical propositions. Okay. Some birds are mammals is a particular affirmative proposition and it distributes subject term alone. Some birds are mammals is a particular affirmative proposition and it distributes predicate term alone. Some birds are mammals is a particular affirmative proposition and it distributes both subject and predicate terms. Some birds are mammals is a particular affirmative position and it distributes neither subject term nor predicate term. Okay, so you have to check which one of the options is correct. Okay. Some birds are mammals. It's a particular affirmative position is true in all statements, but what it distributes, whether it distributes subject or predicate. Okay, you can see that uh, subject is a bird, subject is a bird, and mammal is a predicate. So, which one distribute in particular affirmative? Okay, so A, E, I, O. Okay, we knew that. So in here, we distribute neither. Okay, we distribute neither. It distribute neither subject, neither predicate. So option D is the correct answer. Okay, option D is the correct answer. Whereas here, we distribute both. Here, but universal affirmative, it distribute subject, distribute predicate. Yeah. So here it's a particular affirmative proposition and distribute neither subject term nor predicate term. So this is the correct answer. Okay. The distinction between savikalpa, determinate, and nivikalpa, indeterminate, is made with respect to which of the following pramanas? Okay. Okay. Savikalpa and nivikalpa. Okay. We knew pramanas such as pratyaksha, anumana, ये प्रत्यक्ष अनुमान उपमान शब्द अर्थपदी अनुप्लप्ति. So which of the following pramanas have this distinction, savikalpa and nivikalpa? Okay, we know what it is. Internal, internal and external, internal and external through sense organs. So it is pratyaksha, that is perception. Okay, it's a correct answer. Internal and external through sense organs. Pratyaksha involves direct cognition, either internal or external, with the subject to understand it. Perception involves use of both sense organs and the mind. The two stages in perception are savikalpa, indeterminate, and nivikalpa, determinate. Okay, so here we include like eyes, what we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we smell, and then what we touch. Then mind. Okay, so those two distinctions. That is pratyaksha, perception. Arrange the sequential order of syllogism in Nyaya philosophy. Nyaya philosophy. Okay, so major term, subject, major, middle, then major term, middle term, then predicate, conclusion. Okay, so head two, pragya, head two, udarana, upamana, and nijamana. Okay, udarana, then upamana, then final one nijamana, conclusion. Conclusion. This is conclusion. Udarana is examples or comparison. Exa is sense organs like perception. Two is a subject or term that we are relating to. Upanyaya is a inference. Okay. So the order would be Pratya, Pratigya, Hettu, Udarana, Upanyaya, and Nijamana. That's the correct order. Here you can see the mountain is fiery, Pradijna, because it has smoke. Subject invariable relationship, subject head to. Whatever has smoke is fiery. For example, kitchen, Udarana, we give example. The mountain has smoke which is invariably concomitant with fire. Upanyaya, inference through our previous knowledge. Hence, the mountain is fiery. Nijamana. That is conclusion. So, this is the correct sequence. Fallacy. Hetvabhasha. Fallacy, also known as Hetvabhasha, produced in the conclusion due to the refutation of Sadhya by Hettu. Major term in the Hettu here is middle term. Middle term. Okay. Okay. Hetvabhasha produced in the conclusion due to refutation, contradiction of Sadhya, major term by middle term, is known as. Okay, we will check the answer. Savaya Vichatara Satra Pratiksha Vriddha. Maybe Asiddha or Vriddha, either Asiddha or Vriddha. Okay. Hetvabhashas means that hetu, reason which appears to be real or appropriate, but in fact it is not. According to the Nyaya Sutra, there are 5 kind of Hetvabhashas. Savaya Vichatara, Vadita, Asita, Vriddha, Prakaran Prakaranasama. Vriddha or Vriddha headdu or contradictory middle is the headdu which thought offered to establish the extension of the Sadhya, actually establish the non-extension of Sadhya. Okay, contradiction. Option is C, Vriddha. Okay. Universal negative proposition, how the terms are distributed. Universal negative proposition, how the terms are distributed. Subject and predicate. I can say no A is B. Okay. What we hear is can say that subject is distributed, predicate is undistributed. Subject is undistributed, predicate is distributed. Neither the subject is distributed nor the subject is distributed. That is I. That is opposite. Can see we have seen that in particular affirmation, neither subject nor predicate is distributed. So the opposite would be both subject and predicate is distributed. Okay. So we knew it in particular affirmative, both subject and predicate is not distributed. So in opposite, we can say that both subject and term is distributed. So that is C is the correct answer. Both the terms are distributed. Okay. The universal affirmative is term all A is B, sometimes referred to as all S is B, where S is the subject and P is the predicate. The statement all S P clearly does not also mean that all P is yes. Okay, reverse is not mentioned. You can say all A is P. Okay, all yes is P. But not all P is yes. These are the P that is not part of yes. Okay. In the A proportion, the subject is distributed to the predicate, but not the reverse. Okay, here is in A, subject is distributed. Universal negative is in the form no, P is yes. Okay, the statement that no S is P clearly also means that no P is S. No A is no P is yes. For example, so also state that no P is yes and also no S is P. Okay. So both the terms are distributed in universal negative proposition. According to next question, according to classical Indian logic scripture, which of the following term is related to the process of paksha? Paksha. Okay. New major term, major, middle, minor. These are the three terms. Okay. Major term like fire, smoke. Then minor term, no. This is middle term. Okay. Minor term, smoke. This is skin. Okay. Major term, middle term, minor term. Okay. So here it is Sadhya, head 2, middle term, head 2. Then this one is conclusion is head 2. Conclusion is head 2. Conclusion is head 2. Or predicate is head 2. So hill is here Paksha. Okay. SPH. 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 So here Paksha means middle term. Paksha means middle term. Wait, what is this? Major term Satya. Yes, middle term is head 2. Middle term is head 2. Major term Satya. Middle term. So first time in the first beginning I was right, but okay. Minor term Paksha. Okay. So major term Satya, middle term that is head 2, middle term head 2, minor term Paksha. So Paksha refers to minor term. Okay. Major Satya, you can say SHP. Satya head 2, then Paksha. Next one. All tigers are animals. This is an example of which type of proposition? All tigers are animal. All tigers are animal. Okay, can anyone answer this question?
Universal affirmative.
Yes. Universal affirmative. Okay, it is the correct answer. Contains two classes, the class of all tigers and the class of all animals, saying that the first class is included in the second. All tigers are animals. Okay, so it is distributed. It also says that every member of the first class is also the member of second class. Okay. Then all students cleared their examinations and few students did not clear their examination. This is an instance of all students clear the examination. Few students did not clear the examination. This is the instance of. Okay. This is subaltern. Okay. Subaltern. Contraries. Here it is contradictory. Contradictory. Okay, if it is true, it is false. If it is true, then this is false. If universal If this is false, this is true. If this is true, this is false. This is completely opposite. So all students clear the examinations. Few students did not clear the examination. So this one. Okay. So this will be called as contradictories. A relationship between A, O, and then I, E is contradictory. The following are the rules of governing contradictories. If one of the two contradictories is true, other is false, and vice versa. Contradictories cannot be simultaneously true or false at the same time. So here it is contradictory. If one is true, other is false. If other is true, it is false. Okay. Contradictory. Oh, okay. We know we see this last class. A fallacy in which an opponent's position is depicted as being more extreme or unreasonable than is justified by what was actually asserted is called. A fallacy in which an opponent's position is depicted as being more extreme or unreasonable than is justified by what was actually asserted is called. Okay. So augmentum ad baculum, red herring, augmentum ad hominem, strawman. So what we do is we are attacking opponent's position, not his point. That is straw man. Straw man. A straw man is a fallacious argument that distorts an opposing stance in order to make it easier to attack. Essentially, the person using a straw man pretends to attack their opponent's stance, while in reality they're actually attacking a distorted version of that stance, which their opponent doesn't necessarily support. Straw man. Okay. Here, wherever there is a smoke, there is a fire. Okay. There is smoke in Mr. Verma's chamber. There must be fire in Mr. Verma's chamber. In accordance with Indian logic, this is an example of Pratyaksha Pramana, perception, Upamana, comparison, Hedva fallacy, Vyapti, invariable relation. Can anyone answer this question? Between fire and smoke. Whenever fire, there is a smoke. Whenever smoke, there is a fire. So this is an example of anyone
B. Upamana,
that is comparison. Okay.
or it is in conclusion like
So the relationship between fire and smoke. So it is Vyapti, invariable relationship between fire and smoke. Whenever fire, there is a smoke. Whenever someone sees smoke, they infer there is a fire. Okay. The above example, we pass from the perception of smoke in the hill to the knowledge of the existence of fire in it on the ground. On our previous knowledge of the universal relationship between smoke and fire. Thus, we may hold that inference is immediate knowledge of an object derived through the medium of knowledge of mark by virtue of the relation of invariable concomitance between them. This Vyapti. Next question. Which of the following refers to an attribute of every categorical proposition which is determined by whether the proposition affirms or denies the class inclusion? Okay. Which of the following refers to an attribute of every categorical proposition A, E, I, O, which is determined by whether the proposition affirms positive or denies negative. Okay, we have only okay all universal positive, some universal particular positive, no particular negative, particular negative. some particular negative. Okay. The quantity is all, some, no, some. So affirmation, whether it is affirm, some not. Okay, some not. So which attribute is here referred is quality is referred. Quality is referred. Okay. A categorical proposition is defined as any proposition that can be interpreted as asserting a relation of inclusion or exclusion, complete or partial, between two classes. A class is defined as a collection of all objects which have some specified characteristic in common. The quality of a categorical proposition is determined by whether the asserted class relation is one of the inclusion or exclusion. That is, the statement or proposition is considered either affirmative or negative in quality. Okay. Quantity means all, no, some. Here, quality means positive. We can say that some not. Okay. Here, all A is P. Okay. Some A is not P. That is quality. Assumption of an unperceived fact, which means that, okay, affirmance, assumption of an unperceived fact in order to reconcile two apparently inconsistent perceived fact. Okay, so what we do is unperceived fact, we don't know. Okay, we don't know the fact what caused. In order to reconcile two apparently inconsistent perceived fact, is Indian logic is known as Anumana, inference, Upamana, comparison, Arthapati, implication, Anuplapti, non-apprehension. Okay. Okay. Here, Upamana, comparison, Anumana, Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Shabda, Arthapati, Anuplapti. Okay, Pratyaksha, sense organs, Anumana, inference, Upamana, comparison, Shabda, verbal testimony, Arthapati, implication, Anuplapti, non-apprehension, just existence of God. Unperceived fact. Okay, we'll see the answer. Apparently inconsistent perceived fact. Inconsistent perceived fact. Orthopathy. According to Indian logic, orthopathy is the assumption of an unperceived fact in order to reconcile two apparently where when a known fact cannot be accounted without another fact, we have to postulate the extension of third fact. The valid and justified knowledge of the third fact is known as orthopathy. When a known fact cannot be accounted without another fact, we have to postulate the existence of third fact. The valid and justified knowledge of the third fact is known as orthopathy. Okay. This orthopathy implication. Consider the following argument statements. All curtains are bed sheets. All curtains are bed sheets. Okay, all curtains are bed sheet. Okay. Okay. Some chairs are curtains. Some chairs are curtains. A, E, I, O. Okay. Some chairs are curtains. I. Conclusion: some chairs are bedsheet. Okay. I. A, I. What is the mood of the above proposition? A, I. Here all curtains are bed sheets. Universal affirmative. Some chairs are curtains. Particular affirmative. Conclusion, some chairs are bedsheet. Particular affirmative. So A. It is the correct answer. Okay. 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 A. Which of the following is converse of some S is P? Some S is P. Converse. Okay. Some S is P. A, E, I, O. Okay. Some S is P. Okay. Okay. Say that some S is P. Okay. These are the S that are also P. Okay. Some S is not P. Some S is not P. Okay. Then some P is not yes. Okay. Some P is yes. Okay. No P is yes. This was okay. There is a converse which have the same meaning. We can say it's some P is yes. Some P is yes. Some P is yes. Here you can see some of the P that is also yes. So some P is yes. The converse of a categorical or implication statement is the result of reversing its two constituent statements for the categorical position. So, some S is P, the converse is some P is S. To whom is the word yogaja is related? Yogada, yogaja or yogada. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Vachika Pramana, Upamana. Definitely not Vachika Pramana. Okay. Yogaja. What is Yogaja is related to? Okay, we'll see the answer. Yogaja Pratiksha. Pratiksha means intuitive perception. Okay, it is Pratiksha. The Nyaya school of Hindu philosophy strongly believes in perception through yoga, meditation. Such type of perception is super sensual or intuitive or super relational perception. The details about present, past, and future of any object can be apprehended by such perception. This is the relation with understanding and synchronization of mind with waves present in the universe. Pratyaksha. Yogaja means yoga. Yes, this one you have to match Nirvana, Nishreshiya, Aparvanka, Moksha. Okay, Shankya, Jainism, Upanishads, Buddhism. Okay, we can say that Moksha, Moksha, Moksha. Okay, Sankhya can directly can go for Jainism or Buddhism. It's easier. Nirvana, Buddhism. Nirvana, Buddhism. Okay. Nirvana is Buddhism, which means that universal. Don't uh, aspire anything like எல்லாத்தையும் திறந்துரு எதுவும் வேண்டாம். So Nirvana is Buddhism. We'll check Moksha. Moksha. It's definitely not Jainism. Definitely not Jainism. D2. D is 2. We need D2. D1. So also D2 is not there. Okay, we'll check the answer. The terms in list 1 are concept of liberation according to different schools of thoughts. Nirvana pertains to Buddhism. Nishriyasa pertains to Upanishads. Apavarga is from Jainism and Moksha from Shankya school of thought. Okay. Okay, this question, next one. Okay. Two statements. When I look deep into myself, I always stumble with one perception or another. I can never catch myself. Self is the logical presupposition of all knowledge. Therefore, the concepts like substance and person cannot be applied to it. In the light of above statement, choose the most appropriate answer from the options given below. Okay. When I look deep into myself, I always stumble with one perception or another. I can never catch myself. Self is the logical presupposition of all knowledge. Therefore, the concepts like substance and person cannot be applied to it. Okay, we will check the answer. The first statement is a part of quote by David Hume, and the second statement about self being a logical supposition of all knowledge and how the concepts of substances are therefore not applicable to person is also true. So both statements are true. Okay, this one is aptitude. Okay. Ravi and Kunal are good at hockey and volleyball. Sachin and Ravi good at hockey and baseball. Gaurav and Kunal are good at cricket and volleyball. Sachin, Gaurav and Mandeep are good at football and basketball. Who is good at hockey, cricket and volleyball? Okay, can have this Ravi, Kunal, Sachin, Gaurav, Mandeep. Okay. Ravi and Kunal are good at hockey and volleyball. Hockey, volleyball, then baseball, cricket, volleyball already there, football. Okay. Ravi and Kunal are good at hockey and volleyball. Ravi and Kunal good at hockey and volleyball. Okay. Volleyball. Sachin and Ravi good in hockey and baseball. Sachin is and Ravi good in hockey and baseball. Sachin, hockey, baseball. Ravi, baseball. Gaurav and Kunal are good at cricket and volleyball. Gaurav and Kunal. Volleyball, Gaurav, volleyball and cricket. Then Kunal, cricket and volleyball. Cricket and already placed. Sachin, Gaurav, Mandeep are good at football and baseball. Sachin, football. Gaurav, football. Mandeep, football. Now here baseball, Mandeep baseball, Sachin baseball already there. Sachin also baseball already there. Gaurav baseball. Okay. Who is good at hockey, cricket, and volleyball? Hockey, hockey, cricket, and volleyball. Everything. Okay. Hockey, hockey, volleyball, cricket. Hockey, cricket, volleyball. Hockey, cricket, volleyball. So Kunal. Okay. If you make a table like this, then it is easier for to find the answer. Okay, Kunal is the correct answer. Just make a table representation. then you can easily find out which one is the correct answer. You can do it faster. Choose the correct alternative. Cup is to coffee and coffee and bowl is to soup. Soup is the correct answer. Okay. Soup is coffee is served in a cup. Soup is served in bowl. Okay. In which of the following arguments the relation that exists between premises and conclusion that is of logical necessity? Okay, the relation that exists between premises and conclusion is of logical necessity. So it is from universal to particular. Deductive. Deductive. A deductive argument asserts the truth of the conclusion is logical consequences of premises. Based on the premises, the conclusion follows necessarily. For example, given premises that A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then the conclusion follows A is equal to C. Therefore, the relation that exists between premises and conclusion is that of logical necessity in deductive argument. So it is universal to particular. Inductive reasoning begins with observation that are specific and limited to scope and proceeds to a generalized conclusion that is likely but not certain in light of accumulated evidence. It can be said inductive reasoning moves from specific to general. Okay, so deductive, particular, general to specific. Okay, next question. Given below four propositions, two of them are related. Two of them are related in such a way that they cannot be true, although they can be false. Okay. They cannot be true. Okay, they cannot be true, but false. Both cannot be true, both can be false. A, E, I, O. Okay, here we can say that both can be true, both can be false. All men are honest. A, no men are honest. B, some men are honest. C, some men are not honest. Okay, so if we contradictory, no problem. Both, okay, so the contradictories. CB, B and C, no. Okay, A and D, no, because they are contradictory. Both cannot be false, both cannot be true. If one is true, other one is false. So the question here is both cannot be true, but both can be false. Either AE or IO. Okay. Both, so A and B. A and B. All men are honest. Both cannot be true, but both can be false. So all men are honest. All men are honest. Okay. Both can be true, both cannot be true, and both can be false. All men are honest. This is the correct answer. We have to remember that square of opposition and the distribution, everything. All men are honest contradict the proposition. Some men are not honest. Some men are honest. No men honest or honest contradict some men are honest. Hence the proposition all men are honest and no men honest related in such a way that they cannot be true, although they can be false. Next question. Um, Statement 1. Different communities exist independent of one another, but jointly somehow they give an idea of a communication life of a society. Okay. Different communities exist independent of one another, but jointly somehow they give an idea of communitarian life as a life of a society. Second statement, Earth exists either through a blind chance or through an inner necessity of through an external cause. Okay. Earth exists either through a blind chance or through inner necessity or thought of external cause. Okay, we'll check the answer. Both are true. Okay. The first statement emphasizes on how even through communities exist independent of each other, together they showcase an idea of communication life to the outsider. The second statement was taken from Kant's critique of pure reason, the proposition. The word exists either through blind chance or through internal necessity or through an external cause. Okay. Which of the following which of the following is true with reference to anuplapti as a means of knowledge? Anuplapti, arthapati, anuplapti, non-apprehension. Arthapati, anuplapti means non-apprehension. Okay, like extinction, air is not exist, but we cannot deny the air. Okay, this one, I do not cognize the part on the table, therefore it is absent there. Okay, I do not cognize the part on the table, therefore it is absent there. I directly perceive the absence of part on the table. Perceive, perception, like pratyaksha. Pratyaksha. This is pratyaksha. I infer the absence of part on the table since I do not find it to be there. Okay. Implication. I infer. Inference. Pratyaksha Anumana. I know the absence of the part on the table because I know its similarity with the other absences. Pratyaksha Anumana Upamana. Comparison. Okay, this one. I do not cognize the part on the table, therefore it is absence in there. Absence in there. Anuplapti in the Pramana, source of knowledge of non-apprehension. The theorist held the view that the absence of an object or its attribute from locus is known only through the means of non-apprehension or anuplapti, rather than by any other means of knowledge like perception. Non-apprehension of a thing is a means to the apprehension of its non-existence. So I do not cognize the part on the table, therefore its option there is a true with reference to anuplapti. Okay, sabka. Okay, what is this? Which of the following accepted by Buddhism? Atsaya, aboha, abhava, arthapati, pratyaksha, sabda. Pratyaksha, sabda. Okay, pratyaksha, sabda. Sense organs. So we'll check the answer by Buddhism. Okay. The following categories are considered by the Buddhist school of logic. Valid knowledge, only two pramanas, perception and inference. In opposition to the four pramanas of Nyaya Sutra. Okay. Reason, Ritu, Jistra, Aboha, Jati. Okay. Just here we have seen, yes. Nyaya Sutra. Here you can see. From Nyaya Sutra, what we have is the two Shraddha, Aboha, Jati. Okay. So here choose the correct answer from the following options. Okay. Abhava. Okay. Yeah. Jainism. Buddhism. What we have? Two. Buddhism two. Aboha. Buddhism two. Aboha. Nyaya. Abhava. Okay. Anuplapti. Vedanta. Anuplapti is Vedanta. Vartapati. Anuplapti. Arthapati, Anuplapti. Arthapati, Anuplapti. Anuplapti is not there. Okay. So, Buddhism is for Apoha. 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 B. Buddhism for Apoha. Buddhism for Apoha. Okay, C2. 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 Okay. Nyaya school. 4. Nyaya, if we have is Nyaya Sutra. Okay, you'll check the answer. This one is the correct answer. Concept of abhava is related to Nyaya. Abhava is related to Nyaya. Recognized as a reality by the Nyaya school, abhava is often stated to be the reality of the greatest moment in the pluralistic universe, and it's connected with mukti. It is relative word for there can be abhava only when previously there is a bhava. Moreover, it is a event occurring in time. Concept of anuplabdhi is related to Vedanta school. Anuplabdhi is a Sanskrit term meaning non-perception. In the yogic and Hindu philosophy of Advaita Vedanta system and the Bhatta school of Purva Mimamsa, it is said to be that one of the six Brahmanas are means of obtaining knowledge. Anuplabdhi is the last of the six Brahmanas. So Vedanta school. Apoha concept is connected with Buddhism. The literal meaning of the term apoha is nothing but exclusion or differentiation. The particular thing is excluded or differentiated from other things. Sayadvada concept is found under Jainism. In Jain's metaphysics, the doctrine that all judgments are conditional, holding good only in certain conditions, circumstances, or senses expressed by the word sayat. Maybe. Okay. Next one. In the argument, flower is fragrant because it is lotus. Example, whichever is lotus is fragrant. Lotus growing in the pot. Mention the type of fallacy from the following. Okay. Check the answer. These all are fallacies. Need to study further. The minor term is the lotus of the middle term. The minor term is unreal. The middle term cannot be present in it. The sky lotus is fragment because it is lotus like the lotus of the lake. Okay. Ashriya is Ashriyasida. Ashriyasida. Okay. Next one. Statement 1. In Indian philosophy, Nyaya advocates the theory of existence, validity of the knowledge called par, parat pramanat, parat pramanat, parat pramanvat. Okay. The Mimamsa advocates the self-validity of knowledge both in respect of its origin and ascertainment. Okay, we'll check. Okay, both are correct. Valid knowledge is one that doesn't arise from defective cause, it is devoid of contradictions and dealt with object. The Nyaya philosophy states that Svat Pramanyavad, intrinsic validity and Parat. What is this? Okay. This one. What fallacy is committed in the following argument? Mr. X is wrong in what he said because he is undisciplined by nature. Okay. Mr. X is wrong in what he said because he is undisciplined by nature. Ad hominem, ad populum, ad hoc, or Mr. X. Okay. 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 Hominem, ad populum we know, ad hominem we know. It's too different. Ad hominem argument or argumentation or ad hominem latinum argumentum. is used to counter another argument. However, it's based on feelings of prejudice, often relevant to the argument, rather than facts, reason, logic. An ad hominem of argument is often personal attack on someone's character or motive rather than attempt to address the actual issue at hand. Ad hominem. Another one. Oh, this one. Mr. X is penniless. Therefore, he should be referred to for admission to the college. Mr. X is penniless. Penniless. He doesn't have money. He should be referred for admission to college. He doesn't have money. So he don't have money. So he referred to admission for college. Ad hominem. Ignore it analogy. No possible. We ignore. Oh, maybe add baculum or add mystery code. Okay, it's an appeal to pity. It's a specific kind of appeal to emotion and attempt to distract from the truth of conclusion by use of pity. It's a type of fallacy where someone tries to win support for an argument by exploiting opponent's feelings of pity or guilt. This one easy. The sequential order of syllogism in Nyaya philosophy. Okay, you knew it. Like Pratyeka, then Nijamana is last one. Nijamana is last one. Yeah, Nijamana is last one. Then Upanyaya is second, correct. Then BRC. Udarana Pettu. Udarana or Pettu. It is Udarana B, then Pettu, then Pratyeka. This one is the correct. Okay. Pratyeka 1, Pettu second, E. Udarana third, Upanyaya 4, Nijamana 5. That's the correct answer. The argument which claims that its conclusion is conclusively supported by its premises. Okay. The argument which claims that its conclusions conclusively supported by its premises. Conclusion supported by premises. Deductive. A deductive argument is said to be valid if the premises logically lead to the conclusion. A deductive argument is said to be sound if it is valid and it has true premises. Okay. Okay. To slow a beast, you break its limbs. Okay. To slow a nation, you break its people. To slow a beast, you break its limbs. To slow a nation, you break its people. Analogy. Identify the argument involved in the above. Inductive, deductive, analogy. Analogy, we compare. Okay, we make comparison. Analogy. Analogical argument is involved. Analogical arguments are a form of induction where a conclusion is derived from a comparison of similarities between two or more cases. Analogy. Next question. In a certain flight crew, the positions are pilot, co-pilot, and flight engineer are held by Mr. Rajit. Okay. The following statements are true for all three. The co-pilot is the only child and earns the least. What is it? In a certain flight crew, the positions of the flight co-pilot and flight engineer are held by Mr. Rajit, Mr. Bhavesh, and Mr. Chira. True, not necessarily in the flat order. The following statements are true for all. Okay. True for all three. The co-pilot is the only children and earns the least. Chirag is married to Bhavesh's sister and earns more than the pilot. Who is the co-pilot? Okay, what is this? Chirag, we have three persons: Ajit, Bhavesh, Chirag. Okay, no one knows what is the only child and earns the least. Okay, Chirag is married to Bhavesh's sister. Chirag is married to Bhavesh's sister. And sister and earns more than the pilot. He is earning more. Okay, so yeah, see that, and he earns least amount of money. Okay, okay. Dhanush have a siblings. Dhanush have a Bhavesh have a sibling, so he is not the only child. Okay, and Chirag is married to Bhavesh's sister and earns more than the pilot. He earns more. So obviously it is Ajit. Obviously it is Ajit. Chirag married to Bhavesh's sister. That means Bhavesh is not a co-pilot because co-pilot is the only child. Chirag earns more than the pilot, which means Chirag is also not a co-pilot. Okay. So the answer is Ajit. Ajit is co-pilot. Which of the following pramanas is used by classical Indian school of logic to prove the existence of God? Okay. Existence of God. Pratyaksha, perception, definitely not. Comparison is also not possible. Orthopathy, anuplapti, we will check the answer. And inference. According to Nyaya school, there are exactly four sources of knowledge: perception, inference, comparison, and testimony. Anumana is one of the most important contributions of Nyaya. It can be of two types: inference for oneself, where one does not need any formal procedure. This type of inference is used to prove God's existence. Okay. Inference. In which of the following propositions both can be true simultaneously but cannot be false simultaneously? See, both can be true, both cannot be false. A, E, I, O. A, E, I, O. Okay. Contradictory, one is true, other is false. Both can be true, not possible. So contradiction, not possible. Here, contrary, we know that either both cannot be true, but both can be false. So it is not here in contradictory. In contrary, both cannot be true, but both can be false. So not contrary. Then subcontrary, which is state that both cannot be false, but both can be true. So it is subaltern. Subaltern says that both can be true, but both cannot be false. Okay. Subaltern. Identify the distinctive feature of traditional method of Indian education from the following list. Okay, features of traditional method of Indian education. Okay. Direct perception of truth both as means and end. Making everything on trust. Evolving own way of learning following Aya philosophy with deductive process. Okay. We'll check the answer. Direct perception of truth, both as means and end. Traditional method of Indian education was based on teaching of the Guru. India had the Gurukula system of education in which Guru taught his students about the reality of the life and direct perception of truth with the help of Vedas and their own research and thought. Okay, okay, that's it for the day. We will continue tomorrow with more questions.